Let's analyze this game, which features a rather unusual opening. Opening analysis. Bird's opening. From's Gambit deferred / Stonewall variation. Opening name. This game begins with 1, f4, f5. This is known as the bird's opening by white, followed by a symmetrical response by black, often transposing into a Stonewall defense setup for both sides, or in some cases, a deferred From's Gambit if black were to play e5. Strategy and tactics in the bird's opening. White's strategy. Bird's opening. Control of e5. White's initial move 1, f4 aims to control the e5 square, preventing black from playing e5 easily and establishing a central presence. Kingside attack potential. The f-pawn push can support a future kingside attack by opening the f-file for the rook and supporting moves like b4. Unusual play. It's an irregular opening, so white often hopes to take the opponent out of their familiar theoretical lines. Drawbacks. The main drawback is that 1-4 weakens white's king's position slightly, particularly the e1-4 diagonal, and can make castling kingside riskier. Black's strategy. Symmetrical / Stonewall-like. Symmetry. By responding with 1f5, black aims to mirror white's strategy, also controlling e4 and potentially preparing for a kingside attack. This often leads to a symmetrical game. Stonewall structure. Both players building a pawn chain with pawns on f4/f5, e3/e6, d4/d5 can lead to a Stonewall pawn structure. This creates strong central control and often leads to battles for the e4/e5 and c4/c5 squares. King safety. Like white, black also weakens their king's side with 1. Frauds 5, so careful king safety is paramount. Move-by-move commentary. 1-4. White begins with 1-4, initiating the bird's opening. This immediately controls the important e5 square and hints at a potential kingside expansion. It's a less common choice than 1-e4 or 1-4, aiming to lead the game into less explored territory. 1-f5. Black responds symmetrically with 1-f5. This mirrors white's pawn push, also controlling the e4 square, and leading to a highly unusual and symmetrical start. Both sides are committing to a strong central and kingside presence from the very first moves. 2-n-f3. White develops a knight with 2-n-f3, a natural developing move that controls the central d4 and e5 squares. This also prepares for kingside castling and supports the fol4 pawn. 2-c6. Black plays 2-c6. This pawn move prepares for a future d5 pawn push, supporting the d5 square. It's a solid but somewhat slow development that hints at a more closed positional game. 3-n-c3. White brings out another knight to 3-n-c3, developing a piece and controlling the central d5 and e4 squares. White is building a solid base in the center. 3-e6. Black plays 3-e6. This opens a line for the dark squared bishop and prepares for a future 5 pawn push, completing a pawn structure that resembles a Stonewall formation when combined with 5-4-4. White advances the d-pawn with 4-4, establishing a strong central pawn presence. White now controls a good portion of the central squares and opens lines for their queen and dark squared bishop. 4-n-f6. Black develops a knight to 4-n-f6, a standard developing move. This brings a piece into the game, controls the central e4 and d5 squares, and prepares for kingside castling. 5-e3. White pushes 5-e3, solidifying the f4 pawn and supporting the d4 pawn. This creates a solid pawn chain, f4-e3-d4, which is typical of Stonewall-like structures. It does, however, temporarily block the dark squared bishop. 5-b7. Black develops the bishop to 5-b7, bringing a piece into the game and preparing for kingside castling. This is a very natural and safe developing square for the bishop. 6-b2. White develops the light squared bishop to 6-b2. This is a safe developing square, where the bishop defends the kingside and prepares for castling. White is slowly developing their pieces and solidifying their position. 6-0. Black castles kingside with 6-0. This is a crucial step, bringing the king to safety and connecting the rooks. Black has now completed the most important part of their opening development. 7-0. White follows suit with 7-0, castling kingside. White's king is now safe, and the rook on f1 is connected, ready to participate in the game. Both sides have now completed their kingside development. 7b5. Black expands on the queenside with 7b5. This pawn push aims to gain space on the queenside and potentially challenge white's control of the c4 square. It also aims to prepare for a future b4 push to attack white's a3 pawn. 8b4. White pushes 8b4, also expanding on the queenside. This aims to counter black's b5 push and potentially create a pawn chain on the queenside. However, this also slightly weakens the c4 square. 8b flat 7. Black develops the dark squared bishop to 8b flat 7. This is a good developing move, placing the bishop on an active diagonal where it eyes white's e4 pawn and potentially pressure white's queenside. 9a3. White plays 9a3, a precautionary move to prevent black from playing b4 and attacking white's knight on c3, or creating weaknesses on the queenside. It also supports the b4 pawn. 9d5. Black pushes 9d5. This is a crucial central pawn push, creating a strong pawn center for black and challenging white's d4 pawn. This completes black's Stonewall-like pawn formation. f5 e6, d5, c6. 10. b2. White develops the queen's bishop to 10. b2. This is a solid developing move, bringing the bishop out and connecting the rooks. It also defends the c3 knight. 10. nbd7. Black develops the knight to 10. nbd7. This knight often moves to f6 or b6 in Stonewall setups to prepare for a challenge on the c4 square, or to support a kingside attack. It's a flexible developing move. 11. q1. White moves the queen to 11. q1. This move prepares to transfer the queen to the kingside, potentially to h4, where it can participate in an attack against black's king. It also opens the d-file for the rook. 11. c5. Black strikes in the center with 11. c5. This move directly challenges white's d4 pawn and aims to open the c-file for black's rook. This is a very aggressive and well-timed pawn break. 12 and 1. White retreats the knight to 12 and 1. This move aims to redirect the knight to f2, where it can support the kingside attack and possibly help with defense. It's a slightly passive move, but serves white's overall plan. 12 cxb4. Black captures on b4 with 12 cxb4. This opens the c-file and creates a passed pawn on the b-file for black. This is a good tactical move that simplifies the pawn structure on the queenside. 13. nf2. White reroutes the knight to 13. nf2, bringing it closer to the kingside. This knight is now ready to jump to g4 or h3 to support a kingside attack, particularly eyeing black's f5 pawn and the h7 square. 13. b xa3. Black captures on a 3 with 13. b xa3. Black has now gained a pawn, though it's an isolated pawn on the a-file. This simplifies the position further and allows black to focus on their central and kingside development. 14. nh3. White pushes the knight to 14. nh3, an aggressive move that positions the knight to jump to king 5, aiming at black's kingside. White's intentions for a direct kingside attack are becoming very clear. 14. b4. Black pushes 14. b4, advancing their passed pawn on the queenside. This creates a threat to white's knight on c3 and puts pressure on white's queenside. However, black needs to be mindful of white's kingside attack. 15. q4. White unleashes the queen to 15. q4. This is the core of white's attacking plan. The queen now eyes black's kingside, particularly the h7 square, and creates a direct threat against black's king. White is going for the knockout blow. 15. ne4. Black counterattacks with 15. ne4, bringing the knight to a very active central square. This knight attacks white's queen on h4 and also defends the f6 square. Black is trying to create counterplay and defend their kingside. 16. nhg5. White sacrifices the knight. 16. nhg5 delivers a crushing blow, attacking black's h7 pawn and creating a mating threat. White is willing to sacrifice material for a checkmate. This is a very strong and decisive move, initiating a forced mate sequence. 16. nxd2. Black captures the knight on d2 with 16. nxd2, taking a free piece. However, this move does not address white's immediate mating threat on h7. It's too late to save the king. 17. q xh7 hash. And that's it. Checkmate. 17. q xh7 hash, delivers the final blow. White's queen, supported by the knight on g5, delivers a beautiful and swift checkmate on h7, a decisive victory for white, who executed a focused and aggressive kingside attack from the very beginning of the game. Summary of the opening phase. This game started with the unusual bird's opening, leading into a symmetrical Stonewall-like setup. While both players initially focused on solidifying their central pawn structures, white quickly shifted gears to a direct kingside attack, spearheaded by the queen on h4 and the knight maneuvers. Black's queenside expansion was a good idea in principle, but in this specific tactical battle, it proved to be too slow to defend against white's focused onslaught. White's decisive knight sacrifice on g5 opened the path for the queen to deliver the checkmate, showcasing a clear understanding of kingside attacking principles.